Hello and welcome to this second exploring session as we look at the history of the two valiant knights, Clyomon, Knight of the Golden Shield, son to the King of Denmark, and Clamydes, the White Knight, son to the King of Swabia. It is a play from somewhere in the 1570s, maybe early 1580s. It is appropriated later by the Queen's men, and it is so far a hoot. That's a technical term. It's a sort of chivalric romance tale thing, and we're enjoying it very much. I'm not going to explain the plot because the plot will become apparent as we go, and it's an excuse for you to go back and watch part one, because otherwise, you know, this is all about forcing you to watch as many videos as possible, because, you know, that's what we're here for. So to continue our exploration, we're reaching scene 6 today. We didn't get through many scenes last time. We're not going to get through that many scenes today. We're taking our time with this one. So in a play which actually doesn't have a particularly large principal cast, we have a very big room, many of whom will not be reading too much. I'm very, very sorry I cocked up the schedule. But reading today the exciting part of Bryan. Reading Bryan is...
Lois Potter. I used to teach English literature. I live in London.
Reading the Shipmaster today is... muted at the moment, Elizabeth.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author living in Romford.
And reading the First Lord and Boatswain today is...
Hello, I'm Lynn Freitas. I am currently an English teacher living in the Northwest United States.
And reading Second Lord today is...
Oh, that's me, sorry. Helen Good, I'm a historian, I'm in Yorkshire.
Reading Shift for the first half of this session today is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm an actress, usually based in London, currently still in Germany. I don't know how often I'm going to keep saying this.
And reading the second shift, it will be...
Aliki, Chapple, actor, translator, and theatre maker based in Lancashire.
That's it for the vices so far. We also have some knights. So reading Clyomon today is...
Hi, I'm Pamela. I'm an actor based in London.
And reading Clamydes is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
Exact positioning of stress on both those names will be dependent on how the line scans. Reading First Knight today is...
Hi, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
Reading King Thrasellus is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott. I'm neither an academic nor an actor. I'm based in Suffolk.
And finally reading Neronis today is...
I'm Alexandra and I am cluelessly enthusiastic.
And did I miss anybody out? Because I got a bit lost in my sheet there. No, I think I've got everybody. Excellent. And I am your host, Robert Crighton, and I will be reading the few stage directions that we have and generally trying to keep the room moving in a light and bubbly fashion as we try and figure out what we would do with this play as and when we stage it. So we're going to leap into scene 6 as we have interpolated. The original text does not come with anything useful like scene numbers or acts or divisions or anything like that. So scene 6, we meet the terrifying Bryan.
Of Bryan Sansfoy, who hath not heard? Not for his valiant acts, but well I know throughout the world doth ring his cowardly facts. Well, what though, I pray, all are not born to be God Mars's men. To toy with dainty dames in courts should be no copesmates then. If all were given to chivalry, then Venus might go weep for any court in venery that she were like to keep. But shall I frame then mine excuse by serving Venus, she, when I am known throughout the world, faint-hearted for to be? No, no, alas, it will not serve. For many a knight in love, most valiant hearts no doubt they have, and knightly prowess prove, to get their ladies' loyal hearts. But I, in Venus' yoke, am forced for want of valiancy, my freedom to provoke, bearing the name and port of night, enchantments for to use, wherewith full many a worthy wight most cowardly I abuse, as witnesseth the number now which in my castle lie, who if they were at liberty, in arms I durst not try, the feeblest there, though he unarmed, so is my courage daunted, when as I see the glittering arms whereby each knight is vaunted. But how I vanquish these same knights is wonderful to see, and knights that ventured for her love, whom I do love, they be. That's Juliana, daughter to the King of Denmark's grace, whose beauty is the cause that I do haunt or keep this place. For that no wight may her possess, unless by vow decreed he bring and do present to her the flying serpent's head, which many hath attempt to do, but none yet could him slay. Nay, afterward hence back again, for me could pass away, for that through my enchantments, lo, which here this forest keep, so soon as I did look on them, they straight were in a sleep. Then presently I them unarmed, and to my castle brought, and there in prison they do lie, not knowing what was wrought. Lo, thus I range the woods to see who doth the serpent slay, that by enchantment I may take the head from him away, and it present unto the dame as though I were her knight. Well, here comes one. I'll shroud myself, for sure I will not fight.
I'm just going to pause there before we go further into the scene, because I really like this, because in the previous scene we sort of had this back and forth between Shift and Clamydes about, you know, what Bryan was like. And obviously I've been mocking the name Bryan for comic effect. But, you know, the fact that, you know, he's dangerous because of his enchantments, but everyone everyone knows he is, in terms of fightiness, a bit of a coward, or for that matter, just intelligent and knowing he's not very good at fighting. I mean, you know, I don't get in fights because I know I'd lose. It's, you know, it seems like a perfectly rational way of working. So thoughts about Bryan before we go further into the scene from what Bryan says. I'm warming to Bryan in a sort of weird way. Ed, who wants to leap in?
He's a man with a plan.
Mm.
And he's refreshingly forthright about his cowardice.
Yeah.
That's true.
He calls it cowardice, but, you know, Dan, were you saying something?
No, I just picture Draco Malfoy, the cousin of
Yeah. Perfect, yeah.
We haven't had any Harry Potter references so far. I've been slightly disappointed. Did we have any yesterday? We have begun.
I didn't make it all the way through the Harry Potter series, but I don't think Draco is as self-aware as Bryan is. Bryan seems to have his own number more than Draco ever did.
That's a fair point.
But is it the first time he's come up with the plan of letting the knight go in, kill the dragon, and then making it? Because he's been doing a sort of preemptive sleep charm, and now he's sort of going, well, actually, I could just marry. You know, maybe he's thought about this for a while.
No, he's only getting them on their way back from failing to kill the dragon, isn't he?
Mm. So there's the possibility someone might succeed, and at that point he'll take the head and go. Oh, I see. Yeah. But why would they attack him, or why is he afraid of them then? That's what I don't quite get in that sense. If they were attacking him on the way in to get to, you know, or something. There's all sorts of questions. Sarah, lots of hands. Sarah first.
Well, just to answer that question, I think surely that's to do with the fact that they're beefy knights and he's not. I think it's more like he recognises that there wouldn't be a level playing field between them. So anyway, what I was going to say was he's just the perfect antidote to our Knights of the Shiny Shields, because he is really self-aware, which they both are clearly not. And he has a brain, which he actually uses. So although he's the bad guy, he's needed in this play. I mean, I suppose you could say Shift is very self-aware as well, and he's been fulfilling that role. But it's really actually he's just going to be such a great counterpoint to the other two, and I can't wait to see how they interact when they presumably are going to meet at some point.
Well, it's interesting saying, self-aware and, mentioning Shift, because they're about to have a conversation. So I think it'd be interesting to see what happens there, actually. Alexandra, I saw a hand.
Yeah, I was following up on what people are already saying. I was just going to point out how he from the beginning, he kind of presents this thing of not everyone is meant to be a soldier. Not all, we're not all lion tamers. All are not born to be God Mars's men. If everybody were a soldier, there would be no lovers left. I want to be a lover, so what I do is, this is my understanding of the text, is that, in order to get Juliana, I haunt this place. So anybody that goes, if they get it, if they kill the serpent, I'll take the head. If they don't kill the serpent, then on the way back, I'll take their armor. Which is a great plan. I feel like that's, he's got it all worked out.
So he's taking the armor perhaps to flog off, just to keep himself alive. What are his digs like? I mean, he's presumably living on the open road. How's he keeping him? What's going on there?
He says he has a castle.
Yeah, but how does he keep it? What's the upkeep? How's he running the castle?
Rents on the attached lands.
Or sale of all the costly armor.
Yeah, why couldn't he just hire his own team of people to take out the dragon then? He seems intelligent enough to do that. I'm worrying about the economics of this. Lois.
This is not Don Quixote. I mean, where you do have to worry about economics. This is romance, where somehow the money just grows on trees or something. I think he's scared of armor, actually, and weapons, too. I mean, the classic coward. It's not just scared of people. The minute he sees a sword or a helmet or something, he freaks out.
I'm particularly liking Sarah's comment in the chat. He flogs armor on eBay. And Aliki following up with horses too. I think that's what this is. I think it's just this is good kit. He's that's how he's keeping himself day by day. I'm being very silly, by the way. Here, this isn't actually a serious response. Helen,
sorry, you've undercut what I was about to say, which is that I think you're thinking too particularly about things that would just whiz past, and the audience will take him for what he says. He says, this is how I live my life at the moment, and the audience would say, right.
Oh yes, we are massively overdoing a very short bit of stage business. I mean, we've barely done a couple a few tens of lines so far. Alan, did I see a hand earlier?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think he's considerably brighter than the two main protagonists, and the fact that he doesn't like weaponry and fighting, well, that gives him bonus points in my book.
Yes, we've had several comments now, about his intelligence, but also that this is his place in this world. He can't do the fighting. So he's going to be doing that. I think there's a really nice sense the room taking that. Let's however go for more evidence, because possibly we've done too much on that speech, just to warm everybody's minds, get them in the wrong gear. So unto Bryan enter subtle shift, number 1. So Tamara.
Gog's blood, where might I meet with that cowardly knave, Bryan sans foy? I could tell him such a tale now as would make his heart leap for joy. Well, yonder I have espied one, whatsoe'er he be.
Oh, nay, Gog's blood, I'll be gone. He shall not fight with me. But by enchantment, I'll be even with him by and by.
And shalt please you, I'll fight with no man, never come so nigh.
Why, what art thou? Declare, whither dost thou run?
Even the cowardliest villain, and shall please you, that lives under the sun.
What? Of my fraternity? Dost thou not know Bryan sans foy?
What, Master Bryan? Jesu, how my heart doth leap for joy that I have met with you, who ever had but better luck. But touch me not.
Wherefore?
Ellis, you enchant me into the likeness of a buck.
Tush, I warrant thee. But what art thou? Declare.
Knowledge, and it shall please you, who hither doth repair to tell you good news.
Good news? What are they, knowledge? Express.
A knight hath slain the flying serpent.
Tush, it is not so.
It is most true that I do confess.
What hight his name, knowledge? Let me that understand.
Clamydes, the White Knight, son to the king of Swabia land, who for Juliana, daughter to the king of Denmark's grace, did take the attempt in hand. Now you know the whole case.
Happy noise of gladsomeness unto my daunted mind. Now for to win my lady's love good fortune is assigned. For though she be Clamydes right, one worthily indeed, yet will I sure possess that dame by giving of the head. But knowledge, whereabout declare doth that Clamydes rest?
Even hard by in the forest here, where he slew the beast, I left him, and to seek you did hie. But let us go further into the woods. You shall meet him by and by.
Well, knowledge, for thy pains take this as some reward, and if thou wilt abide with me, be sure I'll thee regard above all others of my men. Besides, I'll give to thee a thing that from enchantments I preserved shalt thou be.
Then here is my hand. I'll be your servant ever.
And seeing thou art a coward as well as I'll forsake thee never. But come, let us go Clamydes to meet.
And exit Bryan possibly sometime during this next line.
Keep on your way and I'll follow. I trust if he meets him, he'll take him to his feet. God's blood, was ever seen such a jolt-headed villain as he, to be so afraid of such a faint-heart knave as I am to see. Of the fraternity, quoth you. By'r lady, it's a notable brood. Well, shift, these chinks doeth my heart some good, and I'll close with Bryan till I have gotten the thing that he hath promised me, and then I'll be with him to bring. Well, such shifting knaves as I am, the ambidexter must play, and for commodity serve every man, whatsoever the world say. Well, after Bryan I will, and close with him a while. But as well as Clamydes, in the end, I'll him beguile.
And we can assume he exits. Master number 3, please. That's the third master he's presumably taken money from. He's got a deal with Bryan that's gone quite well, and he's recapped the plot, just in case anyone came in late. Really quite helpful, that, actually, I found at that point, just to remind us where we are, and also to recap what's happened off stage. Dragon's dead. You know, we didn't even see it. Anyone slightly saddened about that?
Outraged.
Assuming Shift is telling the truth about that, which we
don't know.
Given Shift being Shift, I don't know that we can necessarily take his word on it.
Or are you trying to keep the window of hope open for the group? For the audience at home, the chat exploded with dismay at the absence of a dragon there.
Yeah, I've just read the stage direction for scene 7. I think we've got a problem.
Yeah. I hate to say reading ahead is dangerous, but yeah, there's about to be a head on a stick. So a moment, or sword rather. So yeah, sadly, dragon's dead, people. Dragon's dead. Doesn't mean we can't stage it.
Just about to say the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Why ever not? I think it's perfectly reasonable. You can do it just before Bryan's speech.
We have technology now here in the 21st century. We could do like a video, you know, on the back wall of that.
We could have a large Chinese dragon held up by half the cast.
Honestly, I can't imagine a production today that wouldn't have the fight with the dragon.
Yeah, it just seems like a missed opportunity not to have it. And just because it's not in the stage direction doesn't mean it wasn't there in the original either. There could just be absent data. I think basically, let's put it this way. Just because there isn't a dragon doesn't mean we're definitely having a dragon. I mean, it's just definitely happening. You know, that's fine. Got to give the prop people something, make. You know, beyond shields. That's a bit tedious. Okay, other thoughts about this relationship? I love the no touchy detail. The magic enchantment is a physical proximity thing, or at least that's how Shift thinks it works. So I'm interested about how this universe functions. How does the magic? It's not magic wands from a distance. There's something, or at least he has an idea. That's how it works. Lois.
Yeah, I think Bryan said earlier that all he had to do was look at people, you know, like a basilisk or something, and they would fall asleep. But Shift presumably doesn't know that. He just knows that people have a way of falling asleep when they're around Bryan.
But, you know, Bryan, once he's got your number, is very friendly. You know, he's, you know, you're just like me.
Is that if you're also a coward, though?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But is Bryan lying when he says he's going to give him, you know, this gift of being able to resist enchantment? Is there a double game going on here?
Seems unlikely that he's telling the truth there. I mean, why on earth would you do that when you could give him money instead?
Any other thoughts about this little encounter? In theory, Bryan's talking about sort of shroud myself. How is he? Is it just he's putting a clothing on, or is he doing magical shrouding? You know, what's happening there? Any thoughts, Lois?
Artificial bush. He gets in behind an artificial bush. I mean, presumably there's a sort of a forest effect somewhere.
This is the forest of marvels, strange marvels.
Yeah.
No, just marvels.
Yeah. So there ought to be a couple of prop trees or something he can get behind.
Aliki continues to work towards turning into a mime. The terrifying thing that sometimes happens to people on Zoom. Other thoughts before we move forward? No, we are content with scene 6. Let's move then on to scene 7. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that moment has come. Enter Clamydes with the head upon his sword.
Happy day. My deadly foe submitted half to death. Lo, here's the hand. Lo, here the sword that stopped the vital breath. Lo, here the head that shall possess my Juliana's dear. The knight of the golden shield his force. What need I now to fear? Since I by force subdued have this serpent fierce of might, who vanquished have I, as I have heard, full many a worthy knight, which for to win my lady's love, their lives have ventured here. Besides, a cowardly Bryan, which the faithless shield doth bear, a number keeps, as I have heard, as captives in his hold, whom he hath my enchantment got, and not through courage bold. Shall such defamed dastards, dared by knights thus bear their name? Shall such as are without all faith live to impair our fame? Such shall valiant hearts by cowardly charm be kept in captive's thrall? Shall knights live subject to a wretch which have no heart at all? Nay, first Clamydes, claim to thee fell Atropos his stroke, ere thou doest see such worthy knights to bear the heavy yoke of cowardly Bryan. Without faith, his charms let daunt not thee, and for his force thou needest not fear, the gods thy shield will be. Well, to meet the knight of the golden shield, yet 10 days space I have, and to set free those worthy knights, but rest a while I crave. Here, in this place near to this fort, for that I weary am, with travel since from killing of the serpent late I came. Lo, here a while I mind to rest, and then Bryan, then subdue, and then to Alexandra's court to keep my promise true.
So having let himself sit down and rest himself, enter Bryan, Sansfoy, and Shift.
Knowledge, for here he lies, laid weary on the ground.
Nay, I'll not come in his sight, if you would give me £1,000. For he is the terriblest knight of any you have heard spoke. He'll beat 100th such as you and I am down at one stroke.
Ah, tush, fear not thou at all. I've charmed him, and he is fast asleep, lying near unto this castle here, which I do keep. And 10 days in this sleep I've charmed him to remain, before nature shall overcome it, that he might wake again. In the mean season, to behold the serpent's head I'll take away, his shield and his apparel. This done, then will I convey his body into prison, with other his companions to lie, whose strength, knowledge, I durst never attempt to try.
Handle him softly, or else you will cause him to awake.
Tush, tush, not if all the noise in the world were I able to make. Till 10 days be expired, the charm will not leave him. And then I'm sure he will marvel who did thus deceive him. So, now he is stripped. Stay thou here for a season, and I'll go fetch 2 of my servants to carry him unto prison.
And exit Bryan.
Well, do so, Master Bryan, and for your coming I'll stay. Gog's blood, what a villain am I, my master to betray. Nay, sure I'll awake him, if it be possible, ere they carry him to jail. Master, what master? Wake, man, what master? I will not prevail. Am I not worthy to be hanged? Was ever seen such a deceitful knave? What villainy was in me, when unto Bryan understanding I gave of my master's being in this forest? But much I muse indeed what he means to do with my master's apparel, his shield, and the head. Well, seeing it is through my villainy my master's at this drift, yet when he is in prison, shift shall not be void of a shift to get him away. But if it ever come to his ear that I was the occasion of it, he'll hang me, that's clear. Well, here comes Bryan. I'll cloak with him, if I may, to have the keeping of my masters in prison night and day.
Enter Bryan, Sansfoy, and 2 servants.
Come, sirs, take up this body and carry it unto the appointed place, and there let it lie, for as yet he shall sleep 10 days space.
How say you, Master Bryan? Shall I of him have the guard?
By my troth policy, thy good will to reward in hope of thy just service, content, I agree, for to the resign the keeping of this same night unto thee. But give me thy hand, that thou wilt deceive me never.
Here's my hand. Charm, enchant, make a spider catcher of me, if I be false to you ever.
Well then, come, follow after me, and the guard of him thou shalt have.
And Bryan exits, and at some point the servants may have carried out the body as well.
1,000 thanks I give you. This is all the promotion I crave. Ah, sirrah, little knows Bryan that Clamydes my master is, but to set him free from prison I intend not to miss. Yet still in my mind I can do no other but muse. What practice with my master's apparel and shield he will use? Well, seeing I have played the crafty knave with the one, I'll play it with the other. Subtle shift for advantage will deceive his own brother.
And exit Shift. This brings a really interesting perspective to Shift's character. It's like he can do bad, but he can't stick with one thing and he's going to switch to the other, or he can't do things that are too bad. He's got to sort of create some sort of balance where he just can't sliding from one side to the other. It's really, really interesting there. We need a sound effect magical cue really for when he falls asleep, because it's not a natural falling asleep moment for poor Clamydes. It's really lots of really interesting things. Who wants to leap in on thoughts there? Helen?
There's a very interesting moment where Shift says, "Here's my hand." Because we've established that the magic is through touch, and I imagine Shift has touched the sleeping knight.
I don't know. He thinks through touch. I don't know that it is.
No, but if Shift thinks it's through touch, this is the moment at which he has to make an awful decision. Is he going to be sent to sleep? Is Bryan honest?
We had that in the last scene, though, didn't he?
Did he touch him there?
Yeah, he said, "Here is my hand. I'll be your servant ever."
Oh, sorry. Take it back. Take it back.
Alexandra.
I think there might be exactly in the same place where you pointed out, Helen. But I think it's what I read there as a massive shift in Shift was him invoking a charm. Right, where previously he's gone, yeah, sure, I'll be your servant, and then I'll be your servant. Right now, he's actually invoking a charm on himself. So at this point, I'm really worried about him because this might be one he can't get out of. And I also really like the character either development or revelation that we are getting for Shift in this scene, where it's the first time he's referred to one of his many masters as being more of his master than the others. So previously he moved around between Clyomon and Clamydes, and now he's joining Bryan. But the minute Bryan leaves, he goes, "No, my master is Clamydes. My allegiance is to Clamydes," and it's the first time he's expressed an allegiance opposite or different to this outwardly shifting allegiance, if that's making sense. So we kind of, my impression was that his allegiance was always to himself, and this is the first time that he, without being in a position where he needs to lie about it, he is divulging an allegiance to the audience.
Lois, I saw earlier.
Yeah, I think he's still working out what is the most advantageous thing to do, and since Clamydes is tougher than Bryan and would kill him if he found out that that was how he was betrayed, it's probably better if he can free Clamydes. Also, it's more villainous than not freeing him, since he's betraying somebody else. I don't think he's scared of Bryan's enchantments anymore. I mean, I think Bryan has assured him that he's not going to be using them on Shift. And this isn't like coronavirus. I mean, it's not something that's spread by touch. So I don't know. It just seems to me that he's still, the part of the point of it is just, what is the most villainous thing I can do at the moment? That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I wonder whether he's that villainous, whether he think, no, I don't go that far. I've gone too far by having him go asleep, and maybe it's just going to create more mischief if he then comes back out again, and maybe it's more an agent of chaos quality. I saw Lynn's hand earlier.
Yeah, I think this moment is, I have to say at this point, maybe it's kind of a structural problem, because this hasn't been really signaled before that Shift is going to show anything resembling loyalty. So, we've been sort of kicking this around. Is it that he actually always was sort of fond of Clamydes, or is it that, this is the most sort of shifty thing that I can do is keep going back and forth? I think if you were going to produce this play, you need to figure out a way to signal this sooner, so that you don't create quite so much dissonance in the audience. It's like, why is this guy who's radically selfish deciding that he's going to help someone? It's a really dissonant moment, I felt like.
It is this thing, because it's not that he wants to help him per se. I mean, it's more about I felt it was about the extremity of what he's done, and whether he wants to make it less extreme. Is he a villain, or is he just mischievous? And what he's done is perhaps too nasty. Lots of hands. I'm going to start with Helen.
It's possible that he's just incapable of staying with the same man for more than 5 minutes, and that having given his allegiance to Bryan, he's immediately looking for the next move, because that's his name, Shift.
Sarah?
It could. I think that's a really good point of Helen's. It could well be that. Oh, certainly you could play it that way. I mean, another way you could play it is that, you know, this is character development. You know, like Alexandra was saying, he's encountered magic. And, you know, we don't know if he's encountered this before, but it's something that's maybe changed him, because he's like, oh, okay, maybe this has gone further than I, you know, thought, you know, I never thought it was actually going to go this far, but oh, there he is, like lying on the ground. You know, a person makes choice, you know, character and character development is determined by the choices that people make in moments. And so here we have a bit of Shift character development, or another way you could play it, depending on what happens in the rest of the play. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, Bryan is not that impressive in terms of, I mean, he's an impressive character, but in terms of his status, he's not that impressive. I mean, he has magic, but you know, he's not impressive in the way that, you know, in terms of status and okay, he's got a castle, but you know, he's flogging off armor to pay the electricity bill. So you know, it's like Clamydes is kind of if Shift can get him, if he can wake him up and get him back, he's a better bet. He's still a better bet, because, you know, he's the son of a king, he's a knight, he's got really shiny armor, he's got a lot of good prospects. So it could just be that he's thinking, oh, actually, this guy Bryan, I don't know that being his servant's going to be, you know, the best thing anyway. So what I'm saying is there are lots of different ways you can play it that actually it's not dissonant, for me at least. I don't know how it's going to work in the play, but I think it's just development.
Yeah, I think also we're still only a little over a quarter way into the play, and we don't really know where it's going yet. So, or we don't necessarily know where it's going. So, it's possibly dangerous to overanalyze what Shift is doing here. At the moment, just things. I've got a few other points to jump to, but Lois first.
Yeah, it just struck me that there is a production choice here, because when Shift is trying to wake Clamydes up, he could either really be trying to, or he could just be thinking, you know, oh, it might be a good thing to try to wake him up. Clamydes, you know, oh, he's not waking up. Oh, too bad. I mean, it could be done that way, or it could be done, you know, as a serious attempt to wake him up, and then realizing, no, he really is out for 10 days. But I mean, it's just one of the ways you know, if you're thinking about character development.
Just briefly to go on to Clyomon himself before he loses consciousness, as it were. I mean, it's interesting when he's talking about the difference between, you know, proper courage and enchanting people, and those people, you know, and he adds himself a third quest to rescue all his fellow knights, because that will make him even more great and wondrous and things. And it also makes me think about the name Bryan even more so, just thinking Bryan is actually such a really good name for him, even in a modern sense of just going, he's not that impressive. He's just a Bryan. And
he's a very naughty boy.
Yeah. And, you know, but he's got himself a skill set that is, you know, but he can be there in his T-shirt and pants. Frankly, it's you know, wandering around in a onesie and sleep. And that sort of fits. I'm going too silly now. Any additional thoughts before we go into the next scene? Alan?
Just a very quick thought. Has Shift actually worked out taking a longer term view, his best long term chance is to stick with Clammy?
Well, yeah, I think somebody did make the point about he's making decisions about what's going to make the best long-term prospects, or just simply keeps shuffling the cards and reshuffling the deck and seeing how it's going to land. How dangerous is he? How old is he? Also, that's the other thought in my mind. If he's a cheeky young chappy, then it's slightly different kind of character to an older character. Okay, we will move on to scene 8. And we've got lots and lots of people in this one, lots of people who are going to be various ship people. We've got shipmasters, we've got boatswains, we've got all sorts coming in here. So good luck, everyone, with this first instruction. I do expect you to do it. So, first half of the opening stage direction. Here, let them make a noise as though they were mariners.
Hard, you lad.
Rise
Hold hard, hold hard.
What shall we do with drunk?
Thank you. I haven't finished the stage direction. That's good enough. I was convinced. Heaven help us all. Okay, and after they've convinced us all that they were mariners, after Clyomon, Knight of the Golden Shield, comes in with a 1.
Ah, set me to shore, sir, in what country soever we be.
You're muted at the moment, Elizabeth.
Muted.
Well, hail out the cockboat, seeing so sick we do him see. Strike sail, cast anchors, till we have reached our ship again. For never were we in such storms before, that's plain.
Enter Clyomon. That's an interesting question. That's a strange stage direction to be living there with Boatswain. Okay, question there.
Ah, Boatswain, gramercies for thy setting me to shore.
Truly, gentlemen, we were never in like tempest before.
What country is this, wherein now we be?
Sure, the Isle of Marshes, as our master told me.
How far is it from Macedonia, canst thou declare?
More than 20 sailing, and if the weather be fair.
Ah, cruel hap of fortune's spite, which signed this luck to me. What palace, Boatswain, Boatswain even, is this same? Canst thou declare, we see?
The king Patrionis keeps his court so far as I do guess, and by his train of ladies here, I sure can judge no less.
And the stage direction says exit, but probably not until halfway through this coming line.
Well, Boatswain, there's for thy pains. And here upon the shore I'll lie to rest my weary bones. Of thee I crave no more.
Enter Neronis, daughter of Patrenius, king of the strange marshes. 2 lords and 2 ladies.
My lords, come, will it please you walk abroad to take the pleasant air, according to our wonted use, in fields both fresh and fair. My ladies here, I know right well, will not gainsay the same.
Nor we, sure, for to pleasure you, Neronis, noble dame.
Yes, yes, men, they love entreat much before they will be won.
No, princess, that hath women's natures been, since first the world begun.
So you say.
We boldly may, under correction of your grace.
Well, will it please you forth to trace, that when we have of fragrant fields the dulcet fumes obtained, we may unto the seaside go, whereas is to be gained more stranger sights among Neptune's waves, in seeing ships to sail, which pass here by my father's shore, with merry western gale.
We shall your highness lead the way to fields erst spoke before.
Do so, and as we do return, we'll come hard by the shore.
And they exit, leaving Clyomon on stage.
What greater grief can grow to gripe the heart of grieved wight, than thus to see fell fortune she, to hold his state in spite? Ah, cruel chance, ah, luckless lot, to me poor wretch assigned! Was ever seen such contraries by fraudulent goddess blind? To any one, save only I, imported for to be, to animate the mind of any man, did ever fortune she show forth herself so cruel bent, as thus to keep me back from pointed place by weather driven, my sorrows more to sack. Ah, fatal hap, herein, alas, what further shall I say? Since I am forced for to break mine oath and pointed day, before King Alexandra's grace, Clamydes will be there, and I, through fortune's cruel spite, oppressed with sickness here. For now, within 2 days, it is that we should meet together. Woe worth the wind and raging storms, alas, that brought me hither. Now will Clamydes me accuse a faithless knight to be, and eke report that cowardliness did daunt the heart of me. The worthy praise that I have won through fame shall be defaced. The name of the Knight of the Golden Shield, alas, shall be defaced before that noble prince of might, whereas Clamydes he will show himself in combat wise, for to exclaim on me for breaking of my appointed day. And Clyomon, to thy grief, now art thou in a country strange, clean void of all relief, oppressed with sickness through the rage of stormy blast and cold. Ah, death, come with thy direful mace for longer to unfold. My sorrows here it booteth not, yet Clyomon do stay. The ladies, lo, comes towards thee that walked the other way.
And re-enter Neronis, 2 lords and 2 ladies.
Fair dames, sith that we have in fragrance fields obtained of dulcet flowers the pleasant smell, and that these knights disdained not to bear us company, our walk more large to make, here by the sea of surging waves our home return will make. My lords, therefore, do keep your way.
As it please your grace, we shall obey. But behold, madam, what woeful wight, here on our way before, as seemeth very sick to me, doth lie upon the shore.
My lords, let's know the cause of grief whereof he is oppressed, that if he be a knight, it may by some means be redressed. Fair sir, well met. Why lie you here? What is your cause of grief?
O lady, sickness by the sea hath me oppressed in brief.
Of truth, my lords, his countenance bewrays him for to be in health of heart and mind, and eke of high degree.
It doth no less than so import, O princess, as you say.
Of whence are you? Or what's your name, you wander forth this way?
Of small valour, O lady fair, alas, my name it is, and not foretelling of the same hath brought me unto this.
Why, for what cause, sir knight, should you not express your name?
Because, O lady, I have vowed, contrary to the same, that where I travel, lady fair, in city, town, or field, I am called, and do bear by name, the Knight of the Golden Shield.
Are you that Knight of the Golden Shield, of whom such fame doth go?
I am that selfsame knight, fair dame, as here my shield doth show.
Ah, worthy then of help indeed. My lords, assist, I pray, and to my lodging in the court see that you him convey, for certainly within my mind his state is much deplored. But do despair in naught, sir knight, for you shall be restored, if physic may your grief redress. For I, Neronis, lo, daughter to Petranius king, for that which fame doth show upon your acts, will be your friend, as after you shall prove.
In doing so, you shall need of mighty Jove above.
Oh, if I ever be to health restored again, your faithful servant, day and night, I vow here to remain.
Well, my lords, do come after me. Do bring him, I require.
We shall, O princess, willingly accomplish your desire.
Yes, the all line there at the end. Thankfully, only one person went for it because there's always a disaster on Zoom. She likes a shiny shield, obviously. Hey, I'm the one with the shiny shield. Do you like my shield? Yeah. I think someone talked about shiny cars the other day. It does feel a bit like that. It's interesting. There's a few sort of tricky or extraneous things in the stage directions about entrances and exits. I'm suspecting the Shipmaster may actually be could that actually just be the boatswain as well, and that just all runs together, or is he explicitly a separate person? I just wondered the moment we had that sort of extraneous enter Clyomon and boatswain bit. I genuinely don't know. I don't know if I'm overstating that. I suspect in my production they wouldn't be two people, just to save us bodies. But yeah, thoughts about all of this. Lois first.
I was just thinking what you were just raising. I would imagine that in the first scene, you're imagining Clyomon, who is terribly seasick, begging to be please put on shore. So you're imagining him on the ship, then probably exit and re-enter, possibly with someone else, just to indicate that they're now on shore and Clyomon is collapsing. Thank God you got me off that ship.
Yeah, it is slightly confused as to precisely, are they going or have they gone, or element to that that I wasn't quite sure about. I like the idea of going. Are you going to Macedon? Sort of that sort of question. I've asked many a time in a taxi of that. Helen.
The way I see it is that off stage is the ship, and once again, this is Peel. Off stage is the ship, and then the shipmaster puts Clyomon with the boatswain into a little rowboat over the side, rows him ashore, and the ship and the shipmaster are never on stage. That's why you've got to have so many sound effects, because the audience doesn't see the ship.
I would very much second that, because what the shipmaster says is take a boat out because we see that he looks so sick, and then let's us cast anchor until we sort ourselves out. So they're basically saying put that guy in a boat, and then we see him as if clambering off the boat onto the stage. So yeah, I was reading the same as that being off-stage dialogue. And the stage directions that says, here let them make a noise as though they were mariners, and after Clyomon come in with one, is a description of what is later the stage direction, enter Clyomon and boatswain.
Right, so yeah, so that's a really good, make a noise as though they were mariners, everything, it's all in before they come on stage. Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. He's seasick, of course, he's constantly talking about being unwell, and then we have the entrance of Neronis and her entourage, as it were. Thoughts about them in relation to Clyomon there? Oh, Elizabeth.
Yeah, Neronis is my new favourite character. She does bring with herself like a female energy into the play that changes the mood a bit and changes the tone. So it's like, so far we've had two handle of Clamydes and Clyomon, but now we have Neronis entering the narrative, and I think she really moves the play along. She really moves the tone of the play along as well.
Because Clyomon hasn't really had anything to do except be sort of brave and obstructive to other people, as it were. He hasn't got a quest per se, but he does now have a love interest potentially, whereas the play opened with his opposite of the White Shield with Juliana, the other woman we have so far met in this play, unless I've missed any so far. It is very blokey. It is very blokey so far. Slightly mocky of blokiness. So that's something. So yeah, other thoughts. How, Alexandra, you were Neronis. How did you feel about her?
I like the so the traditional way, I guess, of envisaging this is, she's the fairy tale princess. She just turns up in order to fall in love at first sight and be wooed, and that's an end to it. But the way in which her few lines are written, she's in charge. She's in charge over a bunch of lords and ladies. And also she's got that wonderful little bit of snark with, no, women have always had this nature. Yes, so you say. which I really love. I love that she's, you know, in the third of, I don't know, 7 lines that she has in this scene, we already get an amount of character to her.
Other thoughts, Lynn?
Yes, I hadn't really noticed it until Elizabeth pointed out, but yeah, Neronis is interesting because she potentially has a lot of agency. She's the one that's rescuing Clyomon, who is so seasick he can't continue his journey, which is actually kind of funny because, you know, he's this knightly, manly man, and then he's just like barfing over the edge of the ship. It's so undignified. I mean, I think this could actually, his seasickness, I think, could be played for laughs. And then she's sort of rescuing him, which is actually a fairy tale trope. I mean, the king's daughter who the knight errant falls in love with has a lot of agency in that fairy tale world.
Yeah, I'd really like that. You know, that he's trying to pull himself back with, you know, I'm the knight with a shiny shield, but if he's actually doing that from the back foot rather than from the front foot, that's actually much more interesting. I like that. I like that, you know, he's continuing the thing of he won't say his name because, of course, that's the whole point of the other chap's quest, is to find out who the hell he is. He's still going incognito. He's going by this Knight of the Golden Shield, shiny. So that's consistent. Helen.
Plot point. Clyomon is now vowing to remain with the princess, but in fact he's due in Macedon, even if late.
Well, that's the point. He's only got 15 days to get there, and you know we don't know what day it is now. We assume he's probably in step with the other person's time signature. Pamela, do I see a hand?
Yeah, it was just on the timing thing. I like that there has been an excuse for both of them now to be delayed, with Bryan putting your man to sleep for 10 days, and now he is also late. So neither of them, it looks, are going to turn up on time. What's going to happen?
It's tight, you know. If we say the other chap went, you know, took a couple of days to get to the to kill the flying snake, then he's asleep for 10 days. Potentially, he might wake up earlier. He's being shaken a lot by shift, so you know he can still make it in time. Is there going to be a clicking clock in the corner that we should have? You know, 14 days, 13 days, etc. Alan.
I think actually in the script it says that he's only 2 days away from the appointment for the deal. And for some reason he's gone in completely the wrong direction and is 20 days travel away from Macedonia.
Well, yeah.
The other thought that occurred to me is if you really wanted to overplay the fairy tale references, could he be played by Kermit in this scene?
Oh, good. We haven't had a Muppets reference for ages. Sarah.
Just the comedy potential of him, going back to what we were saying about the fact that he's been seasick when he's such a rugger bugger. That bit where he introduces himself, it's like, oh, you know, I am the Knight of the Golden Shield. If he's still lying by the sea at this point, and he's kind of like, I am the Knight of the Golden Shield. Oh, and he grabs his shield and it's covered in, well, sand, seaweed / vomit.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, I am the Knight of the Golden Shield. There's a lot of comedy potential
Better
there.
still use the helmet to put it in.
And then put it on without thinking.
Please no.
We're doing terrible things to poor Clyomon. But yeah, I think the text allows it. I think, you know, it's very light-hearted. It doesn't feel like it's aiming for psychological realism and things. So okay, we've got a short scene coming up, scene 9. We're going to return to Bryan. Enter Bryan sans foy, having Clamydes his apparel on his shield. And the serpent's head with him, so he's got all the stuff he nicked from unconscious Clamydes.
Sirrah, now is the 10 days full expired wherein Clamydes he shall wake out of his charmed sleep, as shortly you shall see. But here I have what I desired, his shield, his coat, and head. To Denmark will I straight prepare, and there present with speed the same to Juliana's grace as in Clamydes' name, whereby I am assured I shall enjoy that noble dame, for by Clamydes he is safe forever, being free, and unto knowledge is he left here guarded for to be. But no man knows of my pretense, ne whither I am gone, for secretly from castle I have stolen this night alone, in this order, as you see, in the attire of a noble knight. But yet, poor Bryan, still thy heart holds courage in despite. Well, yet the old proverb to disprove, I purpose to begin, which always said that cowardly hearts fair ladies never win. Shall I not Juliana win? And who hath a cowardlier heart? Yet for to brag and boast it out, I will none take my part, for I can look both grim and fierce, as though I were of might. And yet 3 frogs out of a bush, my heart did so affright that I fell dead almost with it therewith. Well, cowardly as I am, farewell, forest, for now I will, in knight Clamydes' name, to Denmark, to present this head to Juliana bright, who shall a cowardly dastard wed instead of a worthy knight.
And exit close scene 9. A few things here. His armor he's got to be quite small and has to have massive armor on him and a sort of clonk clonk. I like the idea we need a sound cue of ribbit, so that he literally can jump out of his skin at the sound of a frog. I know it may be something intimated about something past, but I quite like that being in the present. And that, yeah, he's stolen out. Why has he waited 10 days to leave though and sneak out? It seems like if you've got a 10-day head start, I'd take that. But yeah, I love that. Who wants to leap in? Anyone want to leap in? Alan.
It just raises a question of how bright is Juliana if he thinks he can turn up and get accepted merely because he's bringing the head along.
Romance logic. That's the deal. That's the deal. I mean, he does question actually. Will he win her heart? And he does question whether that's actually going to happen. So he's not completely unaware. He's very aware of himself as not being very impressive. I mean, Tamara, how impressed are you by Bryan?
Not very. I keep trying to work out who my celebrity cast would be, but I can't quite. Somebody very skinny and lanky, I think, as well. And when we discussed the noticing who it is thing, I just suddenly pictured all the knights never actually taking their armor off and coming in full helmet romancing the maidens, which, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, at the moment I'm seeing Bryan as sort of Ronnie Corbett. Because he keeps doing long speeches, so he just needs a little chair. I think we'll move forward, however, into the next scene. We're swapping shifts this time, so shift number 2, but it's the same character, but it's Aliki this time. Shift has been left with Clamydes, so we're going to see what happens now. Enter shift with sword and target.
Be your leave. I came up so early this morning that I cannot see my way. I'm sure it is scarce yet in the break of the day. But you muse, I am sure, wherefore these weapons I bring. Well, list to my tale, and you shall know everything. Because I played the shifting knave to save myself from harm. And by my procurement, my master was brought in this charm. The 10 days are expired, and this morning he shall awake. And now, like a crafty knave, to the prison my way will I take with these same weapons, as though I would fight to set him free, which will give him occasion that he shall mistrust there was no deceit in me. And having the charge of him, here, under Bryan sans foy, I'll open the prison doors, and make as though I did employ to do it by force, through goodwill, and only for his sake. Then shall Clamydes, being at liberty, the weapons of me take, and set upon Bryan and all his men, now that they are asleep, and so be revenged, for that he did him keep by charm in this order. So shall they both deceive in me, and yet upon neither part mistrust toward me. Well, near to the prison I'll draw, to see if he be awake. Hark, hark, this same is he, that his lamentation doth make.
Fatal hap, where am I, wretch? In what distressed case, bereft by of Tyro, head and shield, not knowing in what place my body is? Heavenly gods, was e'er so such strangeness seen? What do I dream? Or am I still within the forest green? Dream? No, no. Alas, I dream not I. Not my senses all do fail. The strangeness of this cruel hap doth make my heart to quail. Clamydes, by fortune she, what froward luck and fate most cruelly assigned is unto my noble state, thy noble state. Where should I be, or in what place hath destiny assigned my selly corpse for want of food and comfort to be pined? Farewell, hope of purchasing my lady, since is lost the serpent's head whereby I should possess that jewel most. Farewell, hope of honor eke. Now shall I break my day before King Alexander's grace, whereon my faith doth stay. And shall I be found a faithless knight? Foul fortune she, which hath her wheel of froward chance thus whirled back on me. Farewell, King of Swabia land. Farewell, Denmark dame. Farewell, thou knight of the golden shield, to thee shall rest all fame. To me, this direful destiny, to thee I know renown. To me, the blast of ignominy, to thee, dame honor's crown. Hateful hap. What shall I say? I see the gods hath signed through cruelty my careful corpse in prison to be pined, and not, alas, amates me so, but that I know not where I am, nor how into this doleful place my woeful body came.
Alas, good Clamydes, in what an admiration is he, not knowing in what place his body should be.
Who nameth poor Clamydes here? Reply to him again.
And shall please you, I am your servant Knowledge, which in 1,000 woes for you remain.
Knowledge, where am I? Declare and be brief.
Where are you? Even in the castle of that false thief, Bryan sans Foy, against whom to fight and set you free. Look out the window, behold, I have brought tools with me.
Knowledge, cowardly that caitiff did me charm.
Yea, or else he could never have done you any harm. Be of good cheer, for such a shift I have made, that the keys of the prison I have got. Yourself persuade. Wherewith this morning I am come to set you free, and as they lie in their beds, you may murder Bryan and his men, and set all others at liberty.
Knowledge, this hath me bound to be thy friend forever.
A true servant, you may see, will deceive his master never. So the doors are open. Now come and follow after me.
And he enters out, presumably leaving whatever prison space was designated.
Heavens, in what case myself do I see? But speak, Knowledge, canst thou tell how long I have been here?
These 10 days full, and sleeping still, this sentence is most clear.
Alas, then the same as the day the which appointed was by the knight of the golden shield to me, that combat hours should pass before King Alexander's grace, and there I know he is. Cruel fortune, why shouldest thou thus wrest my chance amiss? Knowing I do but honor seek, and thou doest me defame, in that contrary mind expect thou all things seek to frame. The faith and loyalty of a knight thou causest me to break. Hateful dame, why shouldest thou thus thy fury on me wreak? Now will King Alexander judge the thing in me to be, the which since first I arms could bear, no wight did ever see. But, Knowledge, Give from thee to me those weapons that I may upon that Bryan be revenge, which cowardly did betray me of my things, and here from thrall all other knights set free, whom he by charm did bring in bail as erst he did by me. Come, into this lodging will I go and challenge him in his.
And exit Clamydes.
Do so, and to follow I will not miss. Ah, sirrah, here was a shift, according to my nature and condition, and 1,000 shifts more I have to put myself out of suspicion. But it doth me good to think how that cowardly knave, Bryan sans foy, shall be taken in the snare. My heart doth even leap for joy. Hark, hark, my maester's amongst them. But let him shift as he can, for not to deal with a dog, he shall have help of his man.
Exit. Interesting. Is that essentially a sound cue again of the prison break occurring behind them, of the hark, hark? I'm liking this sense of offstage world being created by sound. That's really interesting, and it's following in from the whole thing about the boot we had in the first part, with the being trapped sort of off stage but sort of on stage business. There's a real sense of stuff happening around. I like the way Shift also says to Clamydes, for such a shift I have made, is using his secret name in conversation. Cunning. Yeah, it's really, we need some sense of a prison door, hole with, space for Clamydes to be in and be, unhappy in. I really like Shift, coming on stage with all the armor going. Now, you're wondering why I'm bringing all this stuff, aren't you? I've got a plan to make myself look really good. So, yeah, thoughts. We've had a prison break before, haven't we? I'm sure. Did we have one in a play sometime ages ago? I remember a prison break.
It was the one where the body was hanging over the stage all the time.
That's the one, yeah.
Oh, yes. Was that Antonio's Revenge? No.
It was
might
somewhere
have
in
been.
It was one of the Antonio plays.
Yeah, so it's the second one, because that's the one with the character who's in the first half, the first play. Yeah.
It's Antonio's Revenge, I think.
Antonio's Revenge is the one with the body hanging for
ages.
Yeah,
almost the whole play. He's just, this corpse is just there rotting. Anyway, sorry, that's fun play. We had a laugh.
A lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, they are fab. They are later than this play, so I'm just little thoughts in my head. But we had a question about where the prison was and where the voice was coming from in that one as well. So it's an interesting logistical question. So, Tamara.
No, I just remembered. Yes, that was the one with the whole monologue that we thought might be off stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we thought there must be a prison area.
Under the stage, yeah.
Yeah, that some sort of grate is necessary.
I'm thinking discovery space.
Yeah.
Is where they are. So enter out. So
yeah. Anyway, thoughts about this this little relationship. Elizabeth, I see.
Clyomon and Shift remind me of Wit and Will from one of the other plays that we've done. He's his man, am I right? He's his man. Shift is Clymon's man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem to be that loyal to him.
Yes, in the first session, we found that Shift very much comes in and goes, I'm going to follow this person, and then a minute later he follows the other person, and today he's followed a third person, and now he's back to person number 1. I think that's the order.
No, 2.
Person number 2.
He went back to person number 2. So cashier number 1, please. It's. Yes, sorry. Was there more? No. Okay. Other thoughts from the room. Helen.
Shift suggests that Clamydes murders everybody in their bed. As they lie in their beds, you may murder Bryan and his men.
Mm.
But when Clamydes goes off, he goes off to challenge them.
Mm.
I mean, it's so very honourable murdering people in their beds.
Well, quite, but it shifts style.
Yes, it's interesting. Therefore, that creates the question of what is the sound effect? What are the noises off when "hark, hark, my master is amongst them"? Is it, presumably they have woken up and there is a fight happening, and that feels like that's something that we should see. But maybe that's what we're about to see in a moment, in the next scene. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, Shift's general sort of account of what he's been doing. I mean, first to us and then to Clamydes is really quite good. I mean, it's so involved that it sounds totally convincing. What I'm wondering about, though, is that Bryan's gone off with all the stuff he needed to pretend to be Clamydes. So presumably, you'd expect Clamydes to say something like, "What happened to my shield, and why are you giving me that one?"
In the moment of prison escape, he's going to take whatever weapons. He'll find it somewhere in the castle. Mm-hmm. He'll get there eventually. And that's the thing, Bryan's only just left. I mean, they don't know that he's left yet. Yeah. But he's only just left, so they can catch up. But this whole question of, he's too late. He can't make it to King Alexander's. I mean, this whole thing about, meeting up for the duel, they've both failed. Looks like it, They've got, a few hours maybe. So how are they going to get out of that one? We don't know. There is probably no answer. There will be later, tomorrow, day after, something along those lines. Yeah. Anyway, we need to move forward. We've got a few more scenes to get through. So we're going to go to scene 11. And as we said, sounds of noises off. Enter after a little fight within. So you could argue this is actually almost a continuation of the same scene. Maybe it shouldn't be a separate scene. Interesting question. Enter after a little fight within Clamydes, 3 knights.
Come, sir knights, for so unfortunate was never none as I, that I should joy, that is my joy, the heavens themselves deny. That cowardly wretch that kept you here, and did me so deceive, is fled away and hath the shield, the which my lady gave to me in token of her love, the serpent's head-like case, for which this mine adventure was, to win her noble grace.
Sure that same the occasion was, why, we adventured hither.
Well, sith I have you delivered, when as you please together, each one into his native soil, his journey do prepare, for though that I have broke my day, as erst I did declare, through this most cowardly caitiff's charms, in meeting of the knight, which of the golden shield bears name, to know else what he hight. I will to Alexander's court, and if that thence he be, yet will I seek to find him out, lest he impute to me some cause of cowardliness to be, and therefore, sir knights, depart, as to myself I wish to you with fervent zeal of heart. Yet, if that any one of you do meet this knight by way, what was the cause of this my let him perstand, I pray.
We shall not miss, O noble knight, to accomplish this your will.
And exit all the knights.
Well, then adieu, sir knights. Each one the gods protect you still. What? Knowledge ho! Where art thou, man? Come forth that hence meet we may.
Where am I? Faith, breaking open of chests here within, for I'll have spoil them all away.
Tush, tush, I pray thee come that hence we may, no riches thou shalt lack.
Shift with a bag, as it were, full of gold on his back. He's been doing some good looting there. Good looting from Shift.
I come now with as much money as I am able to carry off my back. Oh, there was never poor ass so loaden. But how now, that cowardly Bryan, have you slain? And your shield, the serpent's head and coat, have you again?
No knowledge. The knights I hear were captives kept. They are by me at liberty. But that false Bryan, the same knight, is fled away for certainty, and hath all things he took from me conveyed where none doth know.
Oh, the bones of me! how will you then do for the serpent's head to Juliana to show?
I have no other hope, alas, but only that her grace will credit give unto my words, when as I shown my case how they were lost. But first, ere I unto the dame return, I'll seek the knight of the golden shield, whereas he doth sojourn to accomplish what my father willed, and therefore come away.
And he exits, going back to quest number 2. I forget which quest he's on at the moment.
Well, keep on before, for I mind not to stay. Ah, sirrah, the craftier knave, the better luck, that's plain. I have such a deal of substance here where Bryan's men are slain, that is passeth. Oh, that I had while for to stay, I could load 100 cuts full of kitching stuff away. It is best not to carry too long behind, lest my master over go, and then some knave, knowing of my money, a piece of cousinage show.
And exit he with the loot. And yeah, if only there was more time to do some decent looting. It's always, there's never enough time for when looting, isn't it? I like Clamydes' work with the knights there. You know, just going, well, we're all here for the same reason, are we? Well, let's not tell anyone what happened to us here. You can all go, just shush. Yeah. I like Shift's mock horror as well. Oh no, your armor has been stolen. What will we do?
What do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now?
Any other thoughts before we move into the next 2 scenes? Alan?
I mean, I just wonder whether he's got to play this scene in motley or his underclothing to make it work.
We're certainly not happy that his pucker armor's gone. I mean, I don't know if it needs to go that far, but he could do, because it's probably a good laugh. Helen?
It isn't so much his armour, it's his tabard thing, his surcoat, his shield. I think the rest of the armour's probably there. And of course the dragon's head. But what annoys me is that he's less than 12 hours behind Bryan. If he he could get to Denmark more or less at the same time if he didn't bother to push off to. Is he going to Macedon too?
Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying this show needs an Indiana Jones style map. I suspect if you try and plot one, then actually it creates more problems than not having one.
Yeah, I've come to that conclusion too. On that last speech, sorry.
No, carry on.
In the last speech, I think that has to be, I could load 100 carts, not cuts.
Could be, unless he's talking about meat from the kitchen. I don't think it is, because it doesn't quite fit the rest of the sentence. But yeah, we'll look into it.
I think it's carts.
It's my thought was that it was almost tempted to actually take away real world names and actually make it a magical kingdom, because it probably make life slightly easier in terms of some of the internal logic. But we are running low on time. We need to move forward into the next scene. Hold your thoughts. Bank them for a little bit. So we're going into what potentially is no longer scene 12, because I feel that though everyone went off stage, they sort of were still in the same scene when they came back on again. So I'm tempted to conflate the last 2 scenes into one. But we'll call this scene 12 for the moment. Enter Neronis. Long speech which needs to be unmuted.
And then she unmutes herself. How canst that tree but withered be that wanteth sap to moist the root? How can that vine but waste and pine, whose plants are trodden under foot? How can that spray but soon decay that is with wild weeds overgrown? How can that white inaught delight, which shows and hath no goodwill shown? Or else how can that heart, alas, but die, by whom each joy doth pass? Neronis, I am the tree which wanteth sap to moist the root, Neronis. I am the vine whose plants are trodden underfoot. I am the spray which doth decay and is with wild weeds overgrown. I am the white without delight which shows and hath no goodwill shown. Mine is the heart by whom, alas, each pleasant joy doth pass. Mine is the heart which fades away as doth the flower or grass. In wanting sap to moist the root is joys that made me glad, and plants being trodden underfoot is pleasures that was had. I am the spray which doth decay, whom cares have overgrown. But stay, Neronis, thou say'st, thou showest, and hath no goodwill shown. Why, so I do. How can I tell? Neronis, force no cruelty, thou feast thy night endued is, with all good gifts of courtesy. And doth Neronis love indeed, to whom love doth she yield, even to that noble brute of fame, the knight of the golden shield. Woeful dame, thou knowest thou of what degree he is, of noble blood his gestures show. I am sure of this. Why, belike he is some runagate that will not show his name. Why should I this allegate? He is of noble fame. Why dost thou not express thy love to him then? Because shamefastness and womanhood bids us not seek to men. Careful dame. Lo, thus I stand as 'twere one in a trance, and lacketh boldness for to speak, which should my words advance. The knight of the golden shield it is, to whom a thrall I am, whom I to health restored I have, since that to court he can. And now he is pressed to pass again upon his weary way unto the court of Alexandra, yet hath he broke his day, as he to me the whole expressed. Ah, sight that doth me grieve, lo, where he comes to pass away, of me to take his leave.
And enter Shiny Boy himself, enter Clyomon.
Who hath more cause to praise the gods than I whose state deplored? Through physic and Neronis' help, to health am now restored, whose servant thrall I am become, yet urgent causes doeth, constrained me for to keep it close, and not to put in proof what I might do to win her love, as first my oath and vow, in keeping of my name unknown, which she will not allow. If I should seem to break my mind, being a princess born, to yield her love to one unknown, I know she'll think it scorn. Besides, here longer in this court, alas, I may not stay, although that with Clamydes I have not kept my day. Least this he should suppose in me for cowardliness of heart, to seek him out elsewhere, I will from out this land depart. Yet though unto Neronis I may not show my mind, a fateful heart when I am gone, with her I leave behind, whose bounteousness I here have felt, but since I may not stay, I will to take my leave of her before I pass away. Lo, where she walks. O princess, well met! Why are you here so sad?
Cause I have, since pleasures pass the which should make me glad.
What you should mean, O princess dear, hereby I do not know.
Then listen to my talk a while, Sir Knight, and I will show, if case you will re-answer me my question to absolve, the which propound within my mind doth oftentimes revolve.
I will, O princess, answer you as aptly as I may.
Well then, Sir Knight, apply your cares, and listen what I say. A ship that storms had tossed long amid the mountain waves, where harbour none was to be had, fell fortune so depraves, through ill success, that ship of hope that anchors hold doth fail. Yet at the last she's driven to land with broken mast and sail, and through the force of furious wind and billows bouncing blows. She is a simple shipwreck maid, in every point, God knows. Now, this same ship, by chance being found, the finders take such pain that, fit to sail upon the seas, they rig her up again. And when she was through storms sore shaked, they make her whole and sound. Now, answer me directly here upon this, my propound. If this same ship, thus rent and torn, being brought in former rate, should not supply the finders true, to profit his estate in what she might.
Herein are right. I will, O princess, as I may, directly answer you. This ship thus found, I put the case in, it hath an owner now, which owner shall sufficiently content the builder's charge, and have again to serve his use, his ship, his boat or barge. The ship then cannot serve the turn of finders. This is plain. If case the owner do content to pay him for his pain, but otherwise, if none lay claim, nor seem that ship to stay, then is it requisite it should the finder's pains repay, for such endeavour as it is to serve for his behoof.
What I know truly that it hath, I have no certain proof.
Then can I not define thereof, but thus I wish it were, that you would me accept to be that ship, O lady fair, and you the finder. Then it should be needless for to move, if I the ship of duty ought to serve at your behoof.
Thou art the ship, O worthy knight, so shivered found by me.
And owner have I none, dear dame, I yield me whole to thee. For as this ship, I must confess, that was a shipwreck made, thou hast restored me unto health, whom sickness caused to fade, for which I yield, O princess dear, at pleasure thine to be, if your grace, O noble dame, will so accept of me.
If case I will, what have you shown?
Because I am to you unknown.
Your fame importeth what you be.
You may your pleasure say of me.
What I have said, due proof doth do show.
Well, lady dear, to thee I owe more service than of duty I am able to profess, for that thou didst preserve my life amidst my deep distress. But at this time I may not stay, O lady, here with thee. Thou knowest the cause, but this I vow within 80 days to be, if destiny restrain me not, at court with thee again, protesting whilst that life does last, thine faithful to remain.
And is there then no remedy, but needs you will depart?
No, princess, for a certainty. But here I leave my heart, engage with thee till my return, which, as I said, shall be.
Well, sith no persuasion may prevail, this jewel take of me, and keep it always for my sake.
Of it a dear account I'll make. Yet let us part, dear dame, with joy, and to do the same I will myself employ.
Well now, adieu till thy return. The gods thy journey guide.
And exit Neronis.
And happily in absence mine for thee, dear dame, provide. Ah, Clyomon, let dolours die, drive daunts from out thy mind, since in the sight of fortune now such favour thou dost find. As for to have the love of her whom thou didst sooner judge, would have denied thy loyalty, and against thy good will grudge. But that I may here keep my day, you sacred gods provide most happy fate unto my state, and thus my journey guide, the which I tempt to take in hand Clamydes for to meet, that the whole cause of my first let to him I may repeat. So shall I seem for to excuse myself in way of right, and not be counted of my foe a false, perjured knight.
And exit. Isn't that a lovely scene? We've got a proper wooing scene. We didn't get that at the beginning of the play with Juliana. It was sort of just understood. That's the deal. And here we get a proper proper love back and forth thing. Everyone gets to dance around it a bit. There's a lot of potential there we can still go for. It becomes a bit of a problem with Clyomon possibly being too much of a twonk earlier to pull it back for here, but there's some lovely stuff. Thoughts from the room about this one? We've got one short scene to do before the end. Lynn.
Am I? Oh yeah, I'm on. So it is, I think, worth noticing that in her extended metaphor, her conceit, and it turns out that he's the wrecked ship and she's the one that just happens to find him. So in that metaphor, he's the inanimate object or the thing to be possessed, and she's the human being. She's the one with agency, and he's the object. So that's an interesting dynamic where she's the finder and he's the object, rather than what you might, I think, normally expect for her to be the prize. He's the prize and she's the finder. So
yeah, really like that. Lois, did I see a hand?
Yes, and I guess the drift of that speech was, do you have a girlfriend? I mean, does he have an owner? And if not, then the finder can have him. But the other thing I was struck by was just the variety of verse forms in that scene. They really some quite fascinating internal rhymes and what could, I suppose, be a very short line verse and so on. It'd be fun to think what to do with that. I mean, whether just to go for the meaning or whether to, bring out the kind of verse that people are hearing.
Yes, it's I love the "Do you have a girlfriend?" I also like where Neronis is sort of going, oh, I don't know if he's got a title. He's just this nameless person. Oh, he must be noble because he's got fame. That must be enough. And nobody's certain of things. People have been very certain through a lot of this play, and there's a lot of uncertainty here with stuff going on, which I really like. Helen, muted at the moment.
Thank you. No, I have, all I wanted to say was, there were some people who were saying, well, maybe it's Peel. Here is another extended nautical metaphor which goes on for practically a whole scene. This is Peel.
Dan's waving his arms at that. And do you want to wade in, Dan?
Just, I'm not a fan of trying to attribute to playwrights. How many missing, lost plays do we have? There are untitled playwrights whose names we don't even know, who might have worked there. So, just not buying it.
I have to say, for most of it, I absolutely agree with Dan. I have to say this: if there is a scene that feels like it's by Peel, it does feel like this one is. Not just for the sea stuff, but because of just actually the way some of the love back and forth is structured is quite similar to other things. But it could just be someone just doing a Peel, And I am deeply careful about attribution myself. I agree. It's a dangerous road for us to go down, especially because it's just that way madness lies. Alexandra.
Yeah, to present a mitigating thought, we know that these people all work together and all stole from each other. So some part of this may very well be Peel. He might not even know. I don't know. But one thing
Peel without consent.
Yeah. One thing I really wanted to come back to was that thing that I think I can't remember. I think it was Helen who said it earlier, or Sarah, about this reversal that seems to be happening in this scene of the male character being referred to as being presented as the object of affection, being compared to an object, the girlfriend being the owner. That kind of language is, I think, I would read it as an intentional subversion of something that was, the typical trope of that kind of chivalric romance. And I think it's wonderful to see that in writing of this period. I feel as though that must be intentional. But it's also, as an audience, it'll draw us right in.
Yeah, Lynn used the word subversion yesterday, and I think that's right. It's not a spoof per se. But it does seem like it's deliberately subverting the genre slightly. Maybe not wholly, but there's definitely something going on there, I think. And I really like that. Alan, last call before we go into the final scene of the session.
Just a very quick one. I mean, you said at the outset that this play is 1570s, maybe 1580. The version we've got is closer to 1600, I believe, in terms when it gets into print.
Yeah, it's much later.
By which point it had been through the Queen's Men. From what I remember, Peel was actually very closely connected with that company. So I'm just wondering whether there's been extensive rewrites, and what got to the printer was effectively a performance copy from late in its life with the added tidbits.
It's entirely possible, but we cannot prove it either way. We should not play amateur detectives on this. We really shouldn't. We bring it up as just something that people have said in the past. But it doesn't really matter for our production, hypothetical or real. Final scene of the session, a very brief one. We get introduced to a character who we won't see till tomorrow. Till tomorrow. So we're just going to scene 13 as we've got it. Enter Thrasellus, King of Norway, and 2 lords.
Where deep desire has taken root, my lords, alas, you see, how that persuasion booteth not, if contrary it be. Unto the first expected hope, where fancy hath take place, and vain it is for to withdraw by counsel in that case. The mind who with affection is to one only thing affected, the which may not till dint of death from them be sure rejected. You know, my lords, through fame, what force of love hath taken place within my breast as touching now Neronis' noble grace. Daughter to Patranus king, who doth the sceptre sway, and in the Isle of Marshes eke bear rule now at this day. Through love of daughter his, my sorrows daily grow, and daily dolours do me daunt, for that, alas, I show. Such friendship, whereas favour none, is to be found again, and yet from out my careful mind, naught may her love restrain. I sent to crave her of the king, he answered me with, nay, but shall I not provide by force to fetch her thence away? Yes, yes, my lords, and therefore let your aids be pressed in mine, for I will sure Neronis have, or else my days I'll pine. For King Patranus and his power I hold of small account. To win his daughter to my spouse, amidst his men I'll mount.
Most worthy prince, this rash attempt I hold not for the best. For sure, Patrania's power is great, and not to be suppressed. For why the isle environed is the sea on every side, and landing place, lo, is there none. Whereas you may have tide to set your men from ship to shore, but by one only way, and in that place a garrison great he keepeth to this day. So that if you should bring your power, your travel were in vain. That is not certainly the way Neronis for to gain. But this your grace may do indeed, for so I count it best, to be in all points with a ship, most like a merchant pressed, and stale with such as you think best, all dressed in merchant's guise, and for to get her to your ship, some secret means devise, by showing of strange merchandise, or other such like thing. Lo, this is best advice I can, Thrasellus, lord and king.
You're muted, Helen.
And certainly, as you have said, my lord, it is the way. Wherefore, O king, do prosecute the same without delay.
Of truth, my lords, this your advice doth for our purpose frame. Come, therefore, let us hence depart, to put in you the same. With present speed, for merchant-wise, myself will thither sail.
This is the way, if any be, of purpose to prevail.
And they exit. Oh no, the love stories being, complications happen. Oh no, there's another love interest coming in. Kidnap is planned. Whoa, it's great. You just think you know where you are with the play, and suddenly, woof, that came from nowhere. Suddenly a random king. I think it's interesting in the chat, Aliki, going, each princess has two suitors, one honourable and one dodgy. I like that. That's a really nice. I'm not sure about Tamara, Love Island Elizabethan style. Do they kidnap people on Love Island?
I have no idea. I don't watch it.
I wouldn't pull it past the producers. Shush, shush. Yeah, complications. And First Lord, I'm amazed you're alive. You do not say no to a king. This is first rule of these plays at this period. I'm amazed you haven't been handed a goblet of wine.
Yet. He survived so far, but he's only just said it.
Well, yeah. To be fair, he came up with a better plan, so he's not done too badly. Lois.
We also pointed out the very useful fact that an island is surrounded by water.
Yes, this is true. You heard it here first.
I mean, given the state of our geographical knowledge so far, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we're talking about things you don't want the audience to spend any time thinking about, and geography is one of them. As well as intention, motivation, why some of these things are happening. Yes, there are reasons given, but actually we don't want to mine them too deep, because a lot of them are tropes. A lot of them are things that just happen in these kinds of stories, and if you mine too deeply, then they might fall apart. So I'm quite tempted. If it wasn't for Alexander the Great yesterday, I would just say magical kingdom with magical map, and we wouldn't even attempt to connect it with the real world. But I don't think we can do that. But maybe we could. Who knows? Reactions to that? Alexandra's unmuted herself briefly.
Yeah, I was nodding along to a magical kingdom, magical geography, including Alexander the Great, because, fantasy does occasionally draw in mythological or historical, alternate history type stuff. And I absolutely don't see why not.
Excellent. Alan?
Yeah, I mean, given that, as we discussed yesterday, Alexander is shown in this as being a retired ruler, which he never got to. So it is just
going back to Macedonia, which he also didn't do.
Sorry?
Going back to Macedonia, which he also didn't do.
Yeah, and don't attempt to map Macedonia for an audience. It moves.
I like Sarah's thought there. Could be Arthur.
Yeah.
That would make it a little more closer to this geographical locality. It would actually make some of the geography work, actually, yeah.
Well, and he's functioning very much the way Arthur does, as the king before whose court duels are settled and disputes are brought and so on.
Okay, we're very much into extra time now, so I'm going to go around the room for final thoughts. Start with someone who was here yesterday, and we'll sort of pepper around with people who weren't. So, Helen, with perhaps the greatest overview of the play so far, how are you finding it halfway through the play? A little over.
It's so much better than it was on the page. It really, really works. I mean, I spent most of my time when I was working on the text, desperately struggling with the geography, which in fact was quite a pointless exercise.
There is a reason why I removed it from the text for your notes.
And you were so right.
Because, yeah, I think an audience just clicks and goes, no, don't care.
Yeah.
Tamara, you were not here yesterday.
No.
How are you finding the journey?
Well, I've been gathering the different tropes and the things this play's reminded me of, and I asked in the chat, and I think it's worth asking that in general, is there original source material for this? Is this a whole story, or is it original?
There are two potential sources, one of which I mentioned yesterday. So we got Pierce Forest, written in French. There was an Italian translation and things about. So there is that story there. It may also have ended up in something else called The Paradise of Dainty Devices. which creates all sorts of dating problems because it wasn't printed until 1576. So if this play is earlier than that, then it must have been because someone saw or had vaguely heard the tale from that source. So there are two, potentially.
Oh, that's interesting, because my initial thought was there's a lot of Norway and a lot of Denmark. So is it something potentially by Saxo Grammaticus or somebody like that? But never mind. It just there's vibes that I'm getting that it's about knights, but it sounds vaguely older, and the flying serpent and all of that is there's some Siegfried in there for me. So yeah, I'm just a little bit lost in all the different things that came together. There's one Arthurian knight whose name I can't remember, who went around without saying his name. There's so much, I think.
I mean, the thing about the name, you tell someone your name, you give them power over you. I mean, there's something very important about he determinedly will not, because then he can be held to account for nicking the knighthood that he shouldn't have. Aliki, you were here yesterday. How are you finding it?
I'm really enjoying it, and I've sort of come down today on the decision. I mean, we compare these plays to our contemporary genre properties a lot, but I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to say, this reminds me of some of these very sophisticated kinds of comic books and TV shows that we're getting now, that's a lot about the tropes of the previous ones. That goes like, that thing you're expecting to happen, it's not going to happen like that. Or, that thing you're expecting to happen, here it comes, it's here. And I really enjoy that, and I kind of really want to go all out with it. I want a full Technicolor razzmatazz production now, dragons and all.
Yes, I wholly agree on that front. Pamela, you were not here yesterday, so thoughts from your end?
I was not here yesterday, and I think it took me a little while just to kind of catch up to what was going on. I know you gave us a kind of synopsis beforehand, but yeah, to work out what was going on. I'm really enjoying it. I am quite enjoying, Alan has just said myth salad, which I think is quite fun, that, bringing all of these different ideas into one place and doing them all at the same time. Yeah, it's a lot, but I guess if the audience are actually there from the beginning, it would probably help.
Lois, you were here yesterday. Thoughts?
Yes, well, I've been enjoying it, spotting all the different myths and fairy tale and Arthurian and whatever traditions. And I think theatrically it would be very effective. You just don't know from one minute to the next who's going to come on and what's going to happen. I am puzzled by all these offstage sounds. I wonder if this is something to do with it being a touring production, and they're just assuming that they won't be able to do a lot of these things, and they'd better have them happening off stage.
There's a good question about the actual cast size of perhaps the original production and actually scale of things. So maybe there's an element to that it was originally designed for a cast of maybe only 8 rather than up to 12. So that feels like that might be part of that. Because I say we're very oversubscribed this week for a couple of the days, and it's I'm very aware that a lot of people are not doing anything for quite a long time, and so that actually interests me in a sort of structural sense. Elizabeth, you're new to us today. How have you been finding it?
I have actually really enjoyed it. It reminds me of the Marriage of Wit and Wisdom for some reason. And I like the love story coming in so late in the play. I just think it adds something really lovely to the play. So it adds something really intangible. And I really like the character of Neronis especially. But I can't always remember whether she's with Clyomon or Clamydes.
Nobody can.
Yeah, she's with the golden one. She's with the golden one as opposed to the pearly white one. I think that's the thing, is you need to remember the colour of the shield. That's all you need to know. The names blur. But it's a good point. I think the shout about Marriage of Wit and Wisdom and the marriage plays that exist in that the various variations are quest plays, and I think there's a very similar vibe. I think that's a really, really good call. I have to say I've been thinking of that play as very much one of our pantos, and this is feeling like this has a sort of feel of our panto show, or an option for it. Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Helen that it works a heck of a lot better voiced than it does on the page, having sort of struggled through the text when I was proofing it. And it just does seem to work. The thing it's reminding me of that nobody has mentioned is, in some ways, I can see links with Tolkien. It's mining myths and stories from just about any accessible source and do a mashup.
Dan, you two are new to the throng today, but you were here in spirit yesterday. You were lurking, definitely working. Yesterday with us in the background. So how are you finding it?
Yesterday, I pretty much probably just got the tone of the play because it was hard to really concentrate and actually work at the same time. I don't have much to add that others haven't said, other than just to say that I'm enjoying the play as well. I love the tropes. I love the idea of this being a quest play. I'm interested because of the fact that the Queen's Men did pick up this play at some point to see, how casting will work, essentially. How big a cast would they actually need for this, and which actors could we conjecture might have played what or whatnot.
Yeah. That this play seems to have had a reasonably good life to it, that it could have started as early as 1570-ish, continue with one company, picked up by another, then gets printed another, much later in the day. So it has a real hinterland to this text that I find fascinating. Lynn, final thoughts?
So many thoughts. One thought is that it's just baffling to me that this text has not had more traction in early modern studies. And it might be, as Helen and Alan have observed, is it doesn't read off the page as well as it plays, even in this format. But it's still sort of mysterious to me, because I just think there's so much here to love. I really love the subversiveness of it, the fact that we're sort of mocking and undermining all of this high status, high falutin medieval drama, but it's sort of an affectionate subversion. In that way, it kind of reminds me of the Night of the Burning Pestle, where we're making fun of things, but we kind of love it anyway. I have a big old crush on this text already.
Yeah, it is that thing. It's not a spoof. It is an affectionate play with. It is also playing the story that it's got for all it's worth. It wants us to want these characters, the good guys to win and the bad guys to lose, but it still is able to be playful, and I think that's really lovely. Sarah, final thoughts?
I agree with Lynn. I love the slyness of it. I think, it's very easy when you're reading a text to miss slyness. And then when you actually read it and you take it off the page, then all of a sudden you realize what is there. You realize that subversion's there. And all I can do really is repeat what I said yesterday. It's a hoot. It's really daft, but it's daft in such a clever way. The characterizations are glorious. The way it weaves so many different tropes and traditions together into one story is so satisfying. And I love it.
So I think all that remains is Alexandra. I think I haven't come to you yet.
Yes, I agree with everyone. It's masterfully written by whoever and however many and over however long. It really is. It's very well written for putting on the stage. The plot happens. The writing is very tight. There is, as soon as you think you understand what's going on, there's a complication. There are lots of things that we as a modern audience really like and we appreciate and tend to assume not to be found in works of this period, which is of course wrong, but this is a really great example of exactly that kind of thing. Also, I don't know how much this is the playwright's intention necessarily, but in performance, a lot can be done with the character development that is hinted at or allowed for in the writing. That again, we as audiences, we like people who are not immutable, but learn from their experiences. And there's a lot, I think, that could really make us not just find it a bit of silly fun, but get emotionally engaged and involved and attached to these characters. That would just be in the playing. It wouldn't need any editing of the text. It would just need, you know, taking some directorial and some actorly attention. I also really like the world just off the edge of the stage. This, you know, the space just beyond the curtain where, you know, it's a Maya and now it's a something else, and now it's, you know, the dragon's den. Yeah, that's something. As an idea, it's a bit of fun, but also, as you said, I think it lends itself to very small cast, very sparse set, very little in the way of costumes, because the characters are engaging and the story is engaging, and we establish the convention that everything you can't see is there. It's just off there. It's really great for putting on right now.
But also it can be expanded, and, you know, we could, you know, you could really go all out in sets and costumes and things. It, you know, it expands and contracts, and if it went from being a smaller company to a bigger company, then maybe the play, so that's what this play does, is it expands and contracts. I think, you know, we really, you know, with a first read, it's always very difficult to quite leap onto the text, and sometimes, and some of this text is very tricky, and I'm looking at it thinking, right, top-down punctuation rework is my next thought, because some of it's so tricky. You know, it looks straightforward, and actually it's not. It's doing really complicated things. So it's a kind of play that actually would reward as an actor doing a lot of work on the text in a way that some of these fun plays actually don't. And actually you probably get quite bored after a while as an actor. The audience might love it, you might get bored. I don't think as an actor you'd get bored with this quickly. You know, I think this is one that would reward digging as we go on. I could be horribly wrong about that. And just on that point about, you know, not getting the justice and getting the notice, I think it's maybe because it falls between camps. It's not like I mentioned yesterday, the Old Wives' Tale, which is so meta that it's asking to be studied. You know, this is to a degree, and Alexandra's point about the tightness of it all, you know, it is telling quite a knotty and complicated story, but it is carrying us along, and it's doing all the beats. It's really very well constructed. There's only been one moment where I leapt out and said, I'm not sure why this is here, and then the next scene, oh, that's why it's here. And, you know, and it's only momentary. You know, it's a fascinating piece of work, and I think part of the reason it's obscured is it's just got a funny title. I think being known as Clyomon and Clamydes just makes you just go, nah, no, I'm good. And I genuinely think sometimes it's as simple as that. You look at it on the list and go, nah. Whereas Edward I, I know what Edward I is probably going to be about. I know the kind of thing. I had no idea what the play was. Yeah, I was wrong, but you know, it was still a history play on some level. But you look at this and you look at that title and you go, well, what is it? I don't know what it is. And even reading the full subtitle, didn't really know what it was. So it's an interesting thing about how you sell plays, not just for audiences, but also for, you know, printing and publication and study. So I think I've run out of things to say as well. I think I've gone around the room, haven't I? I'm trying to say new things rather than just saying the same thing again. But it's been fab so far, so I'm really enjoying it. We've still got 2 more sessions to go. I think the amount of text we do slightly decreases as we go. I'm trying to keep this one relatively light and fun, and it's certainly coming across that way. So all that remains is to thank all the readers today, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.